lockdown, I think people were so lost, so confused, and without a doubt, our chats and your meditations were very, very well received. Now that we're coming through it and taking back, hopefully, not the same rat race life as we used to, I thought it was so appropriate to have you back on the show, particularly with all these new things that you're preparing and you're recording.
Yes, life has changed. Life is changing all the time, hopefully, because that's a good thing. And we should never be scared of change, and we should welcome change, because otherwise we stagnate. But when it changes a little bit too rapidly, sometimes usually it creates a lot of stress and sense of insecurity, sense of not feeling safe, because things seem to be slipping out of control. When we are in our comfort zone, we know what's happening, we know how to control it, even though control is an illusion, but at least we have that illusion. When something like this happens, that illusion kind of disappears, and that puts a lot of stress on us, and a necessity to reevaluate our lives, to reevaluate how we're going to move forward. A lot of jobs being lost, a lot of things are, like I said, changing so quickly that it's important to step back and say, okay, what is my purpose now? And this is something you and I were discussing the other day, the importance of understanding your purpose and the effect not understanding our purpose it has on people that we don't even realize, because we're not taught in school about purpose. Nobody tells us sit down and understand your purpose. But when people do not have a clear sense of purpose, it really affects their life to the point that there's deep depression, even suicide. There are statistics about that they interviewed teenagers that tried to commit suicide, and they wanted to analyze why they wanted to do it. They questioned them. And interestingly enough, and I have the statistic here, so I'm going to look to give you the exact numbers. So 85% of those students that tried to commit suicide said that they did it because life seemed meaningless. They were lacking purpose. But this is what's interesting. 93% of those students, they were doing good in school, they were getting good grades, they had good families, loving families, everything else was really going well for them, but missing purpose was the main reason. And it also happens in older age when people retire and then have something to retire to. Statistically, they die sooner than those that have a purpose. So I think I'm bringing this up now because it's almost like a renewed purpose, a reevaluation of everything that happens to us.
Having worked with children and learning problems and the school system for different countries, I have to say now, coming out of lockdown, that the children aren't wrong. In the sense, I think they have a very clear picture of life and the joy of life, and we are trying to drum that out of them and replace it with rules, restrictions, regulations, and the exams being the be-all and end-all. And I think any intelligent child knows that if they have for the future just to look forward to the same rat race as their parents, what is the point? The same as elderly, or when your children leave to go to university or college, and suddenly you can perhaps find yourself without having to look after anybody. And again, now what is the purpose? I think there is not enough emphasis on changing the way we do everything to first address the purpose, one's personal well-being and happiness, and then everything else should follow after that.
Absolutely. When I do my trainings, when I do my coachings and programs, I always start with helping people clarify their purpose. What is purpose really? Purpose is something that is beyond us. This is contribution to the society, to the world. This is when we share our talents, our gifts with the world. When you give, you get this sense of purpose. So, in many ways, a lot of it's human nature, I should say that, yes. So people always do something with what's called in psychology positive intent. When you do something with positive intent, it means you do it because it gives you something. Even when we being giving and attentive to someone, it's also positive intent because it makes us feel good. And that's perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just good to understand that everything you do because it gives you something back. But sometimes we get it a little bit confused in the sense that if we want a recognition, sometimes we do it in a negative way, like being a victim, for example. We get attention, we get some kind of recognition. It's not really good for us to do it this way. And whatever the need of recognition, which is a basic human need, the need to be noticed, the need to be recognized, the need to be valued, we want to get it in a way that benefits others and ourselves as well. So I'm moving a bit from purpose into giving, which is kind of the same thing really, but it's this transition that is important to understand. When we are in a place in life that we feel something is missing, like we want more money because suddenly we're not getting any money. We want more attention because suddenly people are too busy with their own lives and we're not getting the attention we want. Or this quarantine was a very hard time because we couldn't give a hug to someone we love, we couldn't be with people we love sometimes. Like in my case, all my kids are all over the world and I couldn't be with them, still didn't see them. When we're missing something and we want to get it, think about it, what it is that you want, and give it. Because when you give, this is how this world operates. Energetically, you give something and then you get it back. It's like that. So whatever it is that you're missing in life now, love, money, attention, friendship, anything, give it first. Reach out to the people around you. But do it from your heart. Don't do it because, okay, I'm going to give this $100 or €100 and then I get 300 back. It doesn't work this way. You do it because you want to help somebody, because there's always somebody who is doing better than you and there's always somebody who is doing worse than you. So find those that are doing worse than you and help them. And then the universe always gives back. It's the law of nature. When you give something, you get it back. That's normal.
A lot of people prefer to take their own car when going out at night. However, when it comes to time to go home, that might not be the safest or wisest option. For some, just one glass of wine could put you over the legal limit, which means if you drive, you could put yourself or others at risk. If you find yourself in this dilemma and think possibly you should not be driving, you can just give Linear Director a call. They will order and pay for a taxi, which will take you and your fellow companions who were with you in the car home with up to a 25-kilometer radius, as long as you all fit in that one taxi and you're all going to the same place. You can even ask for them to pick up your car and take that back too. And this is 7 days a week from midnight to 7 a.m. and up to 4 times a month. And this is obviously all in addition to the fabulous insurance that you get with Linear Director.
I think a lot of people feel they have nothing to give. And again, I don't want to blame the system as such, but there is a system in place that makes people feel more or less worthy, but also this need for everyone to be the same, a fear to stand out, shine in one's own glory, whether it's for fear of being big-headed, conceited, and there's a fine line again between how one does that. But in order for people to be individuals, they need to be celebrated individually, and yet people are scared to be individuals, and schools, in fact, want people to be the same. So again, it's very difficult for a youngster to even know how to find their identity because so much is already a foregone conclusion.
It's a wonderful point, Nicole, really. I always encouraged my 3 kids to be different. I love being different, and it's like the motto of our family. If you're different, that's good. We celebrate being unique. We celebrate being weird, even, standing out. I think it's great. I think it shows. If somebody says, "Oh, you're so weird," I'm like, "Thank you." To us, it's a normal. It's something that has to be this way, because why be part of the masses? It's just, to me, it's more of an existence. A real life, when you live life to the fullest, is because you allow yourself to be who you really are, to let your individuality shine, to be different to everyone else, because you are different to everyone else. And it's wonderful. This purpose we're talking about, this genius that I believe each and every one of us is born with, don't let this genius die in the midst of all this desire to blend in. At the end of the day, the people that are great leaders in life, the people that we follow, the people that we admire, think about every single person you admire, and that person is different to others. That person is not afraid to be unique, to stand out. They're not afraid, and they do it. And then everyone admires them. Why? Because it's not easy. So we admire that because it's amazing. So again, nothing is good or bad in life. Nothing is right or wrong. It is what it is. But it's always a choice. You can choose to be part of the masses. Again, it's not good or bad. It's just you're part of the masses. Okay, fine. That's also fine. But if you want to lead an extraordinary life, a life that people admire, a life that inspires, a life that leads, yes, a life with purpose, a life that you live, and at the end you look back and say, this was an amazing ride. This was incredible. And it's never too late. It's never too late. You can be 70, you can be 75, you can be 80. It's never too late. You can live another day with purpose, and it's already worth it. So wherever you are in life, if you're missing that spark, if you're missing that sense of purpose, try and find it, because it is there. There's a way. There's, again, in my courses, I help people. I hold their hand. I ask specific questions. I help them get to that point to rediscover that inner genius, to rediscover that spark, and to lighten their life again, and to just, live it fully.
When we're young children, we don't need any of this, in the sense as long as we have food, a roof, and some love, joy just comes naturally. Again, I think we've learned to lose that joy as if there's something wrong with it, as opposed to embracing just as, just waking up in the morning is already a miracle. Apparently there are 1 million people who don't every day. They didn't wake up, and we do. And if we can start by rejoicing, and I think it's the feeling, oh my God, I'm alive. I've got a chance to do nothing or something.
It's funny. I was just having that exact conversation, saying that exact thing to my son 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, because I wake up and that's the first thing I say, oh, thank God I'm alive. Because, like you said, 1 million would not wake up, another at least 3 millions would be affected by that situation. And this morning I woke up to a message from somebody who is very, very important to me in my life, that had a near-death accident. Fortunately, perfectly fine, but it always reminds you, like, oh my God, life is like, today you have it, tomorrow you might not have it. You gotta live each moment to the fullest and be grateful that you have this opportunity to live your life and not waste it. I like to say that if this life is worth living, it's worth living with purpose. And not just existing, and not just, going from day to day. You want to have this passion.
To remind our viewers about how it's okay to be individual, weird, freaky, be happy all the time, all those things that people kind of find strange. Remember, we all have individual fingerprints, because we are all individual. We're meant to be different. And so I encourage you to do so. Masha, thank you so much. That's all we have time for at the moment, but I want to have you back, because I'd like to finish the week with you with a little meditation. Would that be okay?
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Thank you so much for having me again.
In the meanwhile, we'll get on with the rest of more guests here on Marbella now. Thanks, Masha.
Bye.
Can change if we try.